Rain pattered softly against the cracked windowpane as Ayesha stared at her reflection in the tiny mirror on her dressing table. The fluorescent bulb above flickered, throwing a weak glow over the small room she shared with her younger sister. She tugged at the hem of the borrowed dress, an elegant, sky-blue chiffon gown that shimmered faintly under the dim light. It was beautiful, far too beautiful for her, she thought. The dress belonged to her neighbor, Zara, who'd insisted she borrow it for the blind date her cousin had arranged. Ayesha's hands trembled as she adjusted the neckline. "I can't go like this," she whispered to herself. "He'll expect someone better." Zara had brushed off her insecurities earlier that day. "You're overthinking it," she'd said, waving a dismissive hand. "Just go. Who knows? Maybe he's the one." But Ayesha didn't believe in fairy tales. Not after everything that had happened. 2 years ago, her father had fallen ill, and the hospital bills had eaten through what little savings they had. After his passing, Ayesha dropped out of college to support her mother and sister, taking a receptionist job at a local clinic. Life became a careful balance between duty and exhaustion, and love was a luxury she had quietly crossed off her list. Yet here she was, standing in front of the mirror, about to meet a stranger. A stranger her cousin swore was kind and not like other men. When she finally stepped out into the evening, the wind lifted her hair and carried away her doubts for just a moment. The cafe wasn't far, warm light spilled from its glass windows, painting the wet pavement gold. She hesitated before stepping inside, her heart thundering like it wanted to escape her chest. He was already there. Sitting by the window, a steaming cup of coffee in front of him, wearing a simple white shirt with sleeves rolled to his elbows. His eyes met hers almost instantly. He stood, smiled, and waved. "Ayesha." She nodded, trying to steady her breathing as she approached. "Yes, you must be Rayan." His smile deepened. "I'm glad you came." The first few minutes passed awkwardly. Ayesha fidgeted with her fingers, hyper-aware of the borrowed dress. She could feel the faint smell of Zara's jasmine perfume rising from the fabric, a scent that wasn't hers. She caught Rayan's gaze a few times and quickly looked away, worried he might notice how nervous she was. But then, he spoke softly, leaning forward a little. "You don't need to be nervous. I'm not really good at this either." His honesty disarmed her. She chuckled, and something in her heart began to unclench. They talked about music, food, their families, the city, dreams that seemed far away but not impossible. She found herself laughing, really laughing, for the first time in months. And as the conversation deepened, she forgot about the dress, the perfume, even her nervousness. Then, as the evening waned, a soft pause settled between them. Rayan's gaze lingered on her for a moment longer than usual. "You know," he said finally, his tone thoughtful, "I was nervous too, thinking maybe I should have worn something better. But now that I'm sitting here, I realize something." Ayesha tilted her head, curious. "What's that?" He smiled gently. "You don't need fancy clothes to shine. You just do." The words hit her like a quiet storm. She felt warmth rush to her chest, tears pricking her eyes before she could stop them. For so long, she had believed her worth depended on what she could afford, or couldn't. She'd been made to feel small by the weight of life's hardships, by the whispering doubts that told her she was never enough. But in that moment, with Rayan's simple words, something shifted. They sat in silence for a while, neither needing to fill it. The world outside blurred into streaks of rain and passing headlights. Later that night, as he walked her home, their footsteps echoing on the wet pavement, Ayesha found herself speaking of things she hadn't told anyone before: her father, her dreams of finishing college, her fear of never escaping the life she'd fallen into. Rayan listened, really listened. He didn't interrupt or offer hollow reassurances. He just let her speak, his quiet presence grounding her. When they reached her building, she turned to thank him, but he spoke first. "You know, I didn't come tonight looking for someone perfect. I came hoping to meet someone real. And I did." Her breath caught in her throat. She wanted to say something back, but words failed her. So she smiled instead, a small, genuine smile that came from somewhere deep within. The days that followed felt lighter. They began meeting often, sometimes for coffee, sometimes just to walk and talk. Slowly, their connection grew, not rushed, not forced. Rayan encouraged her to apply for a scholarship program for working students, even helping her prepare for the interview. When she hesitated, worried she wasn't good enough, he simply said, "You've already made it through worse. You can do this." There were challenges, of course. Her mother wasn't sure about Rayan at first, fearing another heartbreak. And when Ayesha started studying again, the pressure mounted. Long nights, exhaustion, the constant tug between responsibility and ambition, it all threatened to overwhelm her. There were moments she almost gave up. But Rayan was there, sometimes with words, sometimes just with his quiet support. He never made her feel like a burden. And when she finally received her scholarship letter, he was the first person she called. Months later, as they sat once again in the same cafe where it had all begun, Ayesha wore a simple white dress, her own this time. Rayan smiled as he looked at her. "Still think I needed that fancy blue dress to impress you?" she teased. He laughed softly, shaking his head. "I told you then, and I'll tell you again, you shine without trying." She reached across the table, her hand brushing his. "Maybe," she said with a quiet smile, "but sometimes it takes someone else to remind you you're shining." Outside, the rain began to fall again, soft and familiar. Only this time, Ayesha didn't see it as gloomy. It felt like a blessing, a quiet, gentle reminder that even after the darkest storms, the world still glows when touched by a little light. And she had found hers, not in the borrowed dress, not in the promises of perfection, but in the quiet strength of being seen for who she truly was. The story of Ayesha and Rayan became a quiet testament to what love should be: honest, healing, and real. A love that didn't demand perfection, but simply saw the beauty that had been there all along.